My beloved child, pause for just a moment, because what you are about to hear is not an ordinary story. It may feel impossible, yet some moments in life arrive without warning and quietly rewrite everything we believed was permanent. There is someone whose heart has been carrying a silent weight for far longer than anyone realizes. Yes, they are married, and from the outside their life appears complete, but deep inside they have reached a crossroads that no one around them can see. Over the last few days, something unexpected has shifted within them. A truth they tried to ignore keeps returning stronger than before, refusing to stay hidden. They stood alone, thinking about every choice that brought them here, and for the very first time they made a decision that surprised even themselves. This decision was never planned. It wasn't forced. It came from a place they could no longer silence. Don't skip. Because what happened after this decision is something almost nobody could have predicted. Every passing moment is leading toward a revelation that changes the direction of this entire story, and something huge is waiting for you if you stay until the end. Listen carefully, because the most surprising part has not arrived yet. Sometimes destiny moves quietly before anyone notices its footsteps. While everyone else believed nothing would ever change, invisible pieces were already falling into place. Questions they had buried for months suddenly demanded answers. Memories they tried to forget became impossible to escape. They looked at the life around them and realized they could no longer keep pretending that everything felt the same. That realization became the beginning of an unexpected journey. The strange part is that nobody around them noticed this transformation. Friends continued smiling, conversations sounded normal, and every ordinary day hid an extraordinary secret beneath it. What if the biggest turning points never begin with loud announcements? What if they begin with one silent decision made behind a closed door? Stay till the end, because every answer is connected to a moment that has not been revealed yet, and once you hear it, the title of this story will make complete sense. Before you leave, remember this. Life often saves its greatest surprises for the people who believe nothing is about to happen. This story is not racing toward chaos, it is moving toward clarity. The unexpected decision has already been made, but its consequences have only begun to unfold. Every step from this point forward will uncover another hidden layer that nobody saw coming. One conversation, one unexpected meeting, and one unforgettable realization are waiting just ahead. You may think you already know where this story is going, but the next chapter changes everything in a way that no one expects. Don't skip now. Stay with this journey a little longer, because the most unforgettable moment is still ahead, and something far greater than anyone imagined is preparing to be revealed. For a moment, everything became unusually quiet. Not because the world had stopped, but because a single decision had begun creating invisible waves that nobody could see. The person at the center of this story looked around and realized that living on autopilot was no longer possible. Every ordinary routine suddenly felt different. Every familiar place carried new meaning. They weren't running away from life, they were finally facing the questions they had hidden for far too long. And that is where the unexpected began. While everyone else believed tomorrow would look exactly like yesterday, a completely different future had already started taking shape. Don't skip, because the next few moments reveal why this decision was unlike anything anyone expected. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the biggest surprise hasn't appeared yet. Then something happened that no one could have predicted. A conversation they never expected to have suddenly became possible. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was honest. For the first time in a long while, they stopped pretending everything was perfectly fine. That honesty changed the atmosphere around them. Small signs began appearing one after another, almost as if every unanswered question was slowly finding its place. They realized that real change never announces itself with fireworks, it begins with courage that nobody else can see. But this is only the beginning. The decision they made is about to create a chain of events that will leave everyone wondering how everything changed so quickly. Don't look away now. Every second brings this story closer to the turning point you've been waiting for. And just when it seemed the mystery had reached its peak, another unexpected piece quietly entered the picture. A message, a memory, and an opportunity appeared almost at the same time, making it impossible to ignore what was unfolding. Nothing felt accidental anymore. Every step seemed connected to something much bigger than chance. The path ahead is still hidden, but one thing is certain. The decision that shocked everyone is only the first chapter of an even greater revelation. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, and the next part uncovers the moment that changes this entire story forever. A single conversation was about to uncover everything they had hidden for so long. They met someone who had watched their journey from the beginning, someone who understood every smile that concealed a struggle and every quiet moment that carried unanswered questions. Before a single word was spoken, that person looked into their eyes and said, "You have been carrying this burden for far too long." Those words broke the silence they had protected for months. There was no more pretending. No more running from reality. They finally admitted that they had been living between duty and truth, afraid that choosing honesty would disappoint everyone around them. But something inside them had changed forever. Fear no longer had the final voice. Don't skip. Because the next decision they made wasn't driven by emotion alone, it was guided by clarity, and that is what made it completely unexpected. As the conversation continued, another truth came into the light. They confessed that your name had never truly disappeared from their heart, not because of fantasy, but because of the impact you had unknowingly left on their life. They realized that meeting you had forced them to face parts of themselves they had ignored for years. It wasn't about chasing the past, it was about becoming honest with the present. For the first time, they stopped asking, "What will people think?" and started asking, "Who am I becoming if I continue to hide?" That question echoed through their mind long after the conversation ended. Stay till the end, because the answer they discovered changed the direction of everything. Something huge is waiting for you, and every step now is leading toward a moment that no one saw coming. When they walked away that day, they felt strangely peaceful. Nothing around them had changed yet, but everything within them had. The weight they had carried for so long was beginning to lift, replaced by a quiet confidence that truth, no matter how difficult, was always stronger than fear. They knew the road ahead would require patience, wisdom, and courage, but they also knew there was no turning back. The unexpected decision had already been made, and its ripple was only beginning to reach the people around them. What happens next will surprise even those who believe they already know the ending. The next chapter reveals the one person who never expected to hear this truth, and their reaction changes the entire story forever. No one was prepared for what happened next. The truth that had remained hidden for so long finally reached the one person everyone thought would never hear it. There was a long pause, a deep breath, and then complete silence. Instead of anger, there was an unexpected question: why did you wait this long to be honest? That single sentence changed the entire direction of the conversation. Your soulmate realized that fear had stolen more time than reality ever could. They had spent months imagining impossible outcomes, only to discover that honesty carried a different kind of power. In that quiet moment, they understood something unforgettable. Pretending to be at peace had never created real peace. Don't skip, because the next step they took was the one nobody believed they would ever have the courage to make. As the days moved forward, they stopped living on assumptions and started making decisions with purpose. Every choice became intentional. Every conversation became clearer. The confusion that once surrounded them slowly disappeared, replaced by a calm determination that even surprised the people closest to them. They no longer wanted quick answers or emotional shortcuts. They wanted a future built on truth instead of uncertainty. That is why they refused to rush toward anyone before completing the chapter they were already living through. Many people misunderstood their silence, but silence is not always weakness. Sometimes it is the sound of someone rebuilding their entire life from the inside. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The next revelation explains why this unexpected decision was only the beginning of a much greater transformation. Then came the moment that felt almost impossible to explain. They stood alone, looked toward the future, and made one final promise to themselves: from this day forward, every step I take will reflect who I truly am. That promise became stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, and stronger than every expectation placed upon them. They knew the journey ahead would not be instant, but they also knew they would never return to the life they had outgrown. The story is no longer about secrets, it is about what happens after the truth is finally accepted. And just when it seems every piece has fallen into place, another unexpected event begins to unfold, one that connects directly to you in a way no one could have imagined. The next chapter reveals the moment that changes everything forever. The days that followed felt different. Not because the world had suddenly changed, but because your soulmate had changed from within. Every morning they woke with the same question echoing through their mind: am I finally becoming the person I was always meant to be? The answer did not come all at once. It appeared in quiet moments, in honest reflections, and in the courage to keep moving forward without looking back. They realized that the unexpected decision they had made was never the ending of the story, it was the beginning of a completely new chapter. Every step ahead felt uncertain, yet strangely peaceful. Don't skip, because what happened next was the one thing they never imagined would happen. A small event, almost invisible to everyone else, suddenly reminded them of you in a way that felt impossible to ignore. It wasn't coincidence. It was a moment that stopped them in their tracks and made them realize that some connections leave an imprint that time cannot erase. They didn't rush toward the future. Instead, they chose patience over impulse and wisdom over emotion. For the first time in a long while, they stopped trying to control every outcome. They simply allowed truth to guide the next step. Those around them noticed something different. The anxiety that once filled every decision had disappeared, replaced by a quiet confidence that needed no explanation. Even the people who had doubted them began to sense that this transformation was real. But here is the surprising part: while everyone was focused on what they had left behind, your soulmate was quietly preparing for what was ahead. They believed that every meaningful beginning deserves a strong foundation, not a rushed ending. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The next moment reveals why everything they experienced was preparing them for a meeting that no one expected. Then, without warning, another door began to open. An opportunity appeared that seemed ordinary on the surface but carried extraordinary meaning beneath it. They almost ignored it, thinking it was just another normal day, but something inside urged them to take one more step. That single step led them closer to a future they had never dared to imagine. They didn't know exactly where the path would lead, but they knew they could never return to the life they had already outgrown. Every choice, every conversation, and every quiet prayer had brought them to this point. And just when they believed the biggest surprise had already happened, one final discovery was waiting beyond the next chapter. A discovery that would connect every unanswered question from the beginning of this story and reveal why this unexpected decision was only the first piece of a much greater journey. The next chapter began with something so ordinary that almost anyone would have ignored it. A familiar place, a familiar voice, and a single unexpected moment that made your soulmate stop completely. It felt as though time itself had slowed down. They realized they were no longer the same person who had been hiding behind fear. Every difficult choice they had made had quietly prepared them for this exact moment. There was no excitement to impress anyone, no need to prove anything, only a calm certainty that truth had finally become stronger than doubt. Don't skip, because the story is about to reveal why every delay had a purpose. What once looked like a closed door was actually protecting a future that was not ready to unfold until now. As they continued forward, they noticed something remarkable. The people around them had begun to see the change as well. Conversations became more genuine. Relationships became more honest. Even those who once questioned their decisions started respecting the courage it had taken to choose integrity over comfort. Your soulmate finally understood that the greatest victory was never convincing other people, it was becoming someone who could look in the mirror without regret. Yet one question still remained unanswered. Was this journey only about finding peace within themselves, or was it leading towards someone whose life had been quietly connected to theirs all along? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The answer was closer than they imagined, and the next event would reveal a connection that neither time nor distance had erased. Then came the moment that tied every piece of the story together. Standing beneath an open sky, they whispered a promise they had never spoken before: from this day forward, I will never allow fear to make my choices again. In that instant, they felt lighter than they had in years. The unexpected decision that once seemed impossible had become the foundation of a completely different future. They knew there would still be challenges ahead, but they also knew that honesty had already changed everything. And as they took one final step forward, they had no idea that another life-changing surprise was already moving toward them from the other side of the story. The journey that began with silence was now leading toward a meeting that no one expected. And when that moment finally arrives, every question from the beginning will finally have its answer. Just when everything seemed to have settled, life revealed one final surprise. It did not arrive with loud announcements or dramatic signs. It came quietly, almost unnoticed, through a moment that looked completely ordinary. Your soulmate found themselves standing in a place they had visited many times before, yet this time something felt different. Their heart was no longer filled with fear. It was filled with expectation. They could not explain why, but they felt that every difficult chapter had been leading toward this exact point. Every delay, every unanswered question, every silent night suddenly began to make sense. Don't skip, because what happened next became the missing piece of the entire story. Something huge is waiting for you, and this final revelation connects everything that has happened since the very beginning. As they reflected on the journey behind them, they realized the greatest miracle was not a sudden event, it was the person they had become. The fear of disappointing others had been replaced by the courage to live honestly. The confusion that once controlled every decision had disappeared, replaced by clarity and peace. They no longer chased impossible answers or rushed toward uncertain outcomes. Instead, they trusted that the right path would reveal itself at the right time. Then, in a completely unexpected way, a new opportunity appeared before them. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But deep inside, they recognized it instantly. It felt like the beginning of a chapter they had waited years to reach. Stay till the end, because the next step they take will determine everything that follows, and nothing about it will happen the way people expect. The story that began with a hidden struggle now ends with hope instead of uncertainty. Your soulmate's unexpected decision was never about escaping the past, it was about choosing a future built on honesty, wisdom, and peace. That single choice created a chain of events that changed not only their life but the lives of everyone connected to them. Sometimes the biggest turning point is simply deciding to stop living in fear and start living in truth. As they walked forward with quiet confidence, they knew there was no need to look back anymore. The path ahead was finally clear, and the next chapter of their life would be written with courage instead of hesitation. Remember this, the most unforgettable stories are not the ones that begin perfectly, they are the ones where one unexpected decision changes everything forever.